Chapter 3, Problem 5. This is exercise 3.7 in the text. Again, asks us to compute the cost of overhead over or under applied and complete a cost of goods manufactured. So they've given us all of this information, and a lot of it is boiled down for us. All of those pieces, all we really need is that right there, and the rest we'll use some and we won't use some others. So let's put in the actual manufacturing overhead costs, $473,000. And then you see where we got that. And then let's take a look at the overhead that we applied. They tell us 19,400 hours were used at $25 per hour. So when we do that math, we come up with 485,000 of overhead applied. So we said we had 485,000 of expenses. We actually had 473. So we have $12,000 over applied. We applied $12,000 more expenses than we actually had. Okay, now let's go down our cost of goods manufactured. And when you think about this, put yourself in the cost of goods sold, accounting one formula. It's the same thing. We have beginning raw material, and they give us that, 20,000. So it's going to be 20,000 plus purchase of raw material minus ending. That's always going to be the same. So our beginning raw material was 20,000. We purchased 400,000. So the total amount available was 427,000. Our ending raw material inventory was 30,000. So the raw material used in production was 390,000. That's a cost of goods sold computation just for raw material. Cost of raw material beginning inventory plus cost of raw material purchased, cost of total raw material available minus the cost of the ending raw material inventory, raw materials used in production. So far so good. Now let's take a look. Do they tell us anything about indirect material? Yep. Up here. Of that total 473,000, 15,000 was indirect materials. So we need to subtract that from the raw materials used in production, or we'd be counting it twice. We'd be counting it once when we put it in work in process, then we would be counting it a second time when we applied it as overhead. So we subtract it out of production, put it in piece by piece with overhead. So that brings this down to 375,000. Now, our direct labor, they give us direct labor, 60,000. Our manufacturing overhead applied, that's what we figured out up here, 485. So they're the costs that we added to manufacture this period. We added our materials, our labor, our overhead. They're the three ingredients of any process. And so the total cost of manufacturing, the cost that we added this period, $375.60, $485, $920,000. Now, what did we add those to? We added those to the beginning work in process. That was stuff that was already on the assembly line that we finished up. That gave us a total of $960,000 total ending work in process, or total work in process, $960,000. But take a look here, we have ending work in process, $70,000. So we subtract that. For the sake of consistency, I should use parentheses. So our cost of goods manufactured, $890,000. Looks daunting when you look at the pieces all together and try to figure it out. This is not something you can do in your head, but once you lay it out and go piece by piece, line by line, item by item. There's an old Chinese proverb, by the mile it's a trial, by the inch it's a cinch. This is indeed a cinch if you go line by line, item by item.